Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Mena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Gurun Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunatanvitam Tam Sajivam साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सगना ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्णकरुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्त राधा कान्त नमोऽस्तु ते तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्णा कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Okay, so we will start from where we left. Third canto, second chapter, 16th sloka. Mam khedat etad ajasya janma vidambanam yad vasudeva gehe vrajat chavashori bhayadivasvayam purad vyavas vyavadsid yad ananta viryah. Translation: When I think of Lord Krishna, how he was born in the prison house of Vasudev, although he is unborn, how he went away from his father's protection to Vraja and lived there incognito out of fear of the enemy, and how, although unlimitedly powerful, he fled from Mathura in fear. All these bewildering incidents give me distress. So this is Uddhava and Vidura are discussing. So these are all some of the things that they are remembering of Krishna. Right? So when they are discussing. Okay, purport. Because Lord Sri Krishna is the original person from whom everything and everyone has emanated. Aham sarvasya prabhavo mattas sarvam pravartate. So Janma Deshayataha. Nothing can be equal to or greater than him. The Lord is supremely perfect, and whenever he enacts his transcendental pastimes as a son, a rival, or an object of enmity, he plays the part so perfectly that even pure devotees like Uddhava are bewildered. For example, Uddhava knew perfectly well that Lord Sri Krishna is eternally existent and can neither die nor disappear for good. Yet he lamented for Lord Krishna. All these events are perfect arrangements to give perfection to his supreme glories. It is for enjoyment's sake. So somebody may say, okay, it's so much of distress these devotees are going through, but then it is mentioned it is all for enjoyment's sake. It is all for the purpose of Leela. So Leela means a play, a play that is done for the pleasure. And what kind of pleasure it is? It is to lament in this way. So, but then, as we had many times discussed, that in the spiritual strata, the both distress and happiness are actually only bliss, because it is all in connection with Krishna. So sometimes the distress are glorified more because they get, through distress we get intimate connection, very intense connection with the Supreme Lord. So because of that, the distress is glorified also, and all kind of relations in connection with Krishna is all perfect actually. So that is why all these events are perfect arrangement to give perfection to his glories. So if for enjoyment, it is for enjoyment's sake. When a father plays with his little son and the father lies down on the floor as if defeated by the son, it is just to give the little son pleasure and nothing more. Because the Lord is all powerful, it is possible for him to adjust opposites such as birth and no birth, power and defeat, fear and fearlessness. A pure devotee knows very well how it is possible for the Lord to adjust opposite things, but he laments for the non-devotees who, not knowing the supreme glories of the Lord, think of him as imaginary simply because there are so many apparent contradictory statements in the scriptures. So this, one of the problems with the Mayavadis especially, is that they say, why they say the Brahman is the ultimate, because in Brahman, no, like it is doesn't have any qualities. There is no dualities and things like that. So in the material world, we see that victory and defeat, there are two things are there, and being good and being bad, no, there are two things that are there. And then no, like this, there are so many things, birth and no birth, no, all these things are there. So but then in the absolute truth, or in the supreme Lord, so there should not be any dualities. No, that's by logic. No, if there is any dualities, so then it becomes material, and he cannot be the supreme Lord. Whichever entity which has duality in him, so then no, he cannot be the supreme Lord. So then the Lord is the all-powerful entity, we described. So then that means he can never be defeated. So he is always victorious and he can never be defeated. So that's a problem. No, that's a duality that has come into the picture. So no, then the Mayavadis say, oh, this kind of dualities cannot exist in the Lord. That means the ultimate thing of the entire creation must be a Nirakar Nirvishesha Brahman. So a Brahman which doesn't have any qualities. So if it doesn't have any qualities, so then there is no like positive and negative, there is no dualities. So they conclude in that way that Brahman is ultimate. So but then here our Lord is amazing, that he cannot be conquered by anybody, but then Mother Yashoda can conquer him, saying that no, you made a mistake, now I'll tie you. So he will get defeated when Mother Yashoda is going to punish him, right? So in that way, the Lord is unconquerable, but then he can be conquered by his devotees' love. So it is our Vaishnava principle is that Lord has all contradictory principles in him. It is not that if he is unconquerable, there is no possibility of to conquer him. There is possibility. So he can be conquered, he is unconquerable. So then there is no duality in him. No, all possible qualities that we can think of, it is there in the Lord. And the Mayavadis, they cannot understand this much level of intricacies of the Lord's Leela, Lord's pastimes. So they just simply say, okay, it's very difficult in one person to have all the qualities. So that means there is no person is absolute. No, only the Nirakar Brahman is absolute. So in that way, they just take the easy step. But then the Lord is not so easy. The Lord is, he is ultimate, So he must be having so much of wonderful, different attributes in him. So that is when he is God, right? Okay. A pure devotee knows very well how it is possible for the Lord to adjust opposite things. That's a very important thing. The opposite things. So just because they cannot adjust the opposite things, these Mayavadis say Brahman is ultimate. But he laments for the non-devotees who, not knowing the supreme glories of the Lord, think of him imaginary simply because there are so many apparent contradictory statements in the scriptures. So in the scriptures also, sometimes people say oh, there is so much of contradiction, there is so much of different versions of things are there and things like that. But then all these contradictions, if we carefully see, there is no contradiction. It is the glories of the Lord. The Lord can accommodate all these contradictory things in his personality, right? Okay. Factually, there is nothing contradictory. Everything is possible when we understand the Lord as the Lord and not one of us with all our imperfections. We have so much of imperfections and we cannot calculate whether the Lord can do a particular thing or he cannot. So it is very difficult. The Lord is Lord. The Lord can do even the impossible. So then we can actually understand the philosophy. If we try to fit in, oh, how can this be possible? This is not possible. So that means we are limiting the Lord. So no, it cannot happen like that. So the moment we see the Lord as the Lord, so then we will have perfect vision. Okay, text 17. Dunoti chetah smarato mamaita yad ahapadav abhivandya pitroho tatam bakam sad urushankitanam prasidatam no krita nishkritinam. Lord Krishna begged pardon from his parents for their, that is, there means Krishna and Balaram's inability to serve their feet due to being away from home because of great fear of Kamsa. He said, "O mother, O father, please excuse us for this inability. All this behavior of Lord gives me pain at heart." Purport. It appears that Lord Krishna and Baladev were both very greatly afraid of Kamsa and therefore they had to hide themselves. But if Lord Krishna and Baladev are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, how was it possible that they were afraid of Kamsa? Is there any contradiction in such statements? Vasudev, due to his great appreciation for Krishna, wanted to give him protection. He never thought that Krishna was the Supreme Lord and could protect himself. He thought Krishna as his son. Because Vasudeva was a great devotee of Lord, he did not like to think that Krishna might be killed like his other children. Morally, Vasudeva was bound to deliver Krishna to the hands of Kamsa because he had promised to turn over all his children. But out of his great love for Krishna, he broke his promise. And the Lord was very pleased with Vasudeva for his transcendental mentality. So this is also very important. Now, for a devotee, there is no moral good and bad. So according to morality, if we see, now breaking the word, breaking the promise that is given is very, very bad. In fact, it is mentioned the earth can hold on many people, but then no huge burdens the earth can actually hold on, like mountains and no huge entities. But it cannot bear the weight of a liar. If somebody tells a lie, so the earth feels him to be very great burden on itself. So, but then here Vasudev, he told a lie, not to Kamsa. He told Kamsa that no, I will give all the children, no, which is born of me and my wife. So, but then he is cheating now. He's going back on his promise. But then this is very good because in connection to Krishna, he is doing this in connection to Krishna, with an attitude to render service to Krishna. So then it is accommodated, and in fact, Krishna actually appreciates this point. No, he for my sake, no, he actually told a lie. No, that's very good. No, he broke a promise for that. So even Krishna also doesn't mind to break a promise. Krishna told that he will not lift a weapon in the battle of Kurukshetra. But then, just to protect his devotee Arjuna, no, he took the weapon. So this shows that no amount of morality, no amount of the social customs and things like that comes in the way between the devotional service to the Lord. So devotional service to the Lord is beyond the material morality. No, it is transcendental. So that is why it is mentioned here. The Lord was very pleased with Vasudeva for his transcendental mentality. Okay, so the main thing that was discussed here in the beginning of the purport and in the translation is that since Krishna and Balaram are Supreme Lord, and how then they can be afraid of Kamsa, and why they have to hide themselves, and they are actually begging pardon from their parents Vasudeva and Devaki, because we were hiding because of fear of Kamsa, so we couldn't able to serve you, you are our parents, and we couldn't able to serve you properly, so please forgive us for that. So here Uddhava is telling, when I see such Leela of the Lord, so then I get so much of pain at my heart. No, he's the Supreme Lord. Why should he come and ask any sorry from anyone? No, why should he say that he was hiding out of fear of Kamsa? Right? So this appears to be contradictory, that Krishna being Supreme Lord and at the same time, he is afraid of Kamsa. So then the contradiction is settled here. No, it is not because Krishna is afraid of Kamsa. It is Vasudeva. No, he was thinking that I have to protect Krishna. And it is not that Vasudeva did not know Krishna as Supreme Lord. Vasudeva knows Krishna as Supreme Lord, but still devotee always wants to do something from his part, and he wants to take care of Krishna. He is not thinking that Krishna is God and now he is going to appear, he is going to take care of me. No, now I'll go and boldly stand in front of Kamsa and say, you see, like now I've got the Supreme Lord on my side. Now you see like what I'll do. You did so much of atrocities to me. Now you see what I'll do. So that is a materialistic person. Materialistic person, the moment he gets the grace of God, or moment he knows that he's going to get some favor from God, he will immediately say, okay, these are all my desires, material desires, you first fulfill these things, right? So no, this person did like this to me, no, I have to take revenge to him, and things like that. But devotee of the Lord always thinks, what service I can render to Krishna. No, I may have to go through so many things, that is okay, but what service can I render to Krishna? That's the mood of devotee. And here Vasudev, though he knows that Krishna is Supreme Lord, he is not thinking that the Lord will protect himself. No, Lord will destroy the demon. No, he is thinking, though he is Supreme Lord, he is my son, and now I have to protect him. Now I have to do service to him. So this is a very amazing mood of the devotee, and because of this, like Krishna had to be shifted to Vrindavan, and also there is internal reasons are there. The Vrajavasis, they are the greatest devotees of the Lord, and Lord want to spend time with them. So that is the Leela. That's the way the Lord actually enacts his pastimes. So in this way, so all the contradictions, what is there, they can be like solved by understanding the loving dealings that are present amongst the devotees on the Lord. So if somebody doesn't know the loving dealings amongst the Lord, if they don't have the Bhagavan conception of the Lord, if they just simply think as Paramatma conception of the Lord, they will say, oh, no, he's Supreme Lord, he must be doing this, he must be doing that. And no, what's the point of shifting him here and there? Like, no, he could have just stayed in the prison house, and when Kamsa came, just finish the business. That's the purpose for which he has come. So that is the, like, people who are on the level of Paramatma understanding, they will always think in the functional role of the Lord. He is meant to protect, he is meant to provide for everyone, he is meant to do this, he is meant to do that. They will never think what service I can render to the Lord. No, that only a devotee who's on the understanding, who's on the realization of Bhagavan aspect of the Lord, only he can do that. No, others, they are not thinking of rendering service to the Lord. That is why the Paramatma realization and Brahman realization, they are not considered to be devotees of the Lord. They are, no, in fact, non-devotees of the Lord. So they may be like focusing on the Lord, they may be worshipping the Lord. All those who are worshipping the Lord are not devotees of the Lord. No, so many people go to the Lord, but they are not devotees of the Lord. So many people actually worship him and do so many things, but they're not devotees of the Lord. Devotees of the Lord means they always think, no, how can I offer some pleasure to Krishna? How can I make him happy? No, they are not going to Krishna, no, thinking how will I become happy? So they are going to Krishna to make him happy. So that is devotee. No, that is devotee of Krishna. Okay. He did not want to disturb the intense affection of Vasudev, and thus he agreed to be carried by his father to the house of Nanda and Yashoda. And just to test the intense love of Vasudev, Lord Krishna fell down in the waters of Yamuna while his father was crossing the river. Vasudev became mad after his child as he tried to recover him in the midst of the rising river. These are like this is the way the Lord actually enacts his pastimes. So he deliberately does all these things, so that his devotee will become more and more intensely attached to him. His devotee's feelings towards him will become more intense and things like that. So this is the way the Lord actually performs his pastimes. Okay, these are all glorified pastimes of the Lord, and there is no contradiction in such manifestations. Since Krishna is the Supreme Lord, he was never afraid of Kamsa, but to please his father, he agreed to be so. And the most brilliant part of his supreme character was that he begged pardon from his parents for being unable to serve their feet while absent from the house because of fear of Kamsa. The Lord, whose lotus feet are worshipped by demigods like Brahma and Shiva, wanted to worship the feet of Vasudev. Such instruction by the Lord to the world is quite appropriate. Even if one is the Supreme Lord, one must serve his parents. A son is indebted to his parents in so many ways, and it is a duty of the son to serve his parents, however great the son may be. Indirectly, Krishna wanted to teach the atheists who do not accept the supreme fatherhood of God, and they may learn from this action, how much the Supreme Father has to be respected. Uddhava was simply struck with wonder by such glorious behavior of the Lord, and he was very sorry that he was unable to go with him. The Lord has actually departed to the from this world, but then here we see that uh, Uddhava is like lamenting that no, the Lord has not taken me with him. No, I am left over here, and he alone has went back to the spiritual world, right? So Uddhava was left back, no, because he had some service to do. So the Lord wanted him to do some service after his departure. So that's why Uddhava was left back. Text 18. Kova amushyangri sarojarenum vishmartumish ishita puman vijigran yo vishpurad bur vitapena bhumer bharam kritanthena tiraschakara. Okay. Who, after smelling the dust of his lotus feet even once, could ever forget it? Simply by expanding the leaves of his eyebrows, Krishna has given the death blow to those who were burdening the earth. Lord Krishna cannot be accepted as one of the human beings, even though he played the role of an obedient son. His actions were so extraordinary that by the simple raising of his eyebrows, he could deliver death blow to those who were burdening the earth. So that means it was just a child's play for Krishna to destroy all the demoniac forces who are actually burdening the earth, right? So he was really very, of course, like Supreme Lord is very powerful. Text 19. Drishta bhavadbhir nanu rajasuye chaidasya krishnam dvishatopi siddhihi yam yogina samsprahayanti samyak yogena kastat viraham saheta. You have personally seen how the king of Chedi, Shishupal, achieved success in yoga practice. Although he hated Lord Krishna, even the actual yogis aspire after such success with great interest by performance of their various practices. Who can tolerate suppression from him? So here, now Shishupal, we all know that he was number one enemy of Krishna, and here it is mentioned he achieved success in yoga practice, although he hated Lord Krishna. So how can this statement be true? Like, no, how such a statement is made? What is the yoga practice that has been done by Shishupal? So Shishupal's yoga practice is that he hated Krishna to the core. No, that is the yoga practice that he did. So yoga means what? Linking oneself to the Supreme Lord, right? And Shishupal linked himself in enmity with Supreme Lord. And because he was constantly in enmity with Krishna, and he could not able to think of anything else apart from Krishna, when Krishna killed Shishupal, he got liberation, no? Because Ante Narayana Spriti. So Shishupal became liberated just because he was thinking of Krishna. And sometimes it is mentioned that this is what the yogis are aspiring for. The yogis want liberation, and here the demons and the people who are enemies to Krishna, Krishna gives them liberation. So then it is not such a very great position to get liberation. Mukti is not such a great position. It is offered to enemies of Krishna. It is offered to the demons. No, that is the position the yogis and jnanis are trying to aspire for, and I know they are struggling to get, right? So devotees don't want moksha. Devotees want to reside in the planet where Krishna is there, or devotees want to render service to Krishna, right? So that is the nature of the devotees. So that very wonderful sloka, often we used to quote that Kaivalyam Narakayate. Kaivalyam means to merge in the existence of the Lord, or to get liberated in the Brahma Jyoti. So that is called Kaivalyam. No, Kaivalyam Narakayate. For devotee, it's like Naraka. It is not very great position. No, the yogis and jnanis, they want to get liberated and be there in the Brahma Jyoti. Where is the service to the Lord? Where is the association of the Lord? Where is the association of devotees? Where is the opportunity to hear of the glories of the Lord? Where is the opportunity to chant the names of the Lord? So all these things are lost. These are all the source of supreme bliss. And all these things are lost for a person who wants to get liberation in Brahman, in Brahma Jyoti. So in that way, like Shishupal, he achieved success in yoga practice. That means yogis want liberation. That he got, by blaspheming Krishna, by being an enemy of Krishna, right? So even the actual yogis aspire after such success with great interest by performing their various practices. So who can tolerate separation from him? Okay. Purport. Lord Krishna's costless mercy was exhibited in the great assembly of Maharaj Yudhishthira. He was merciful even to his enemy, the king of Chedi, who always tried to be an envious rival of the Lord. Because it is not possible to a bona fide rival of the Lord, because it is not possible to be a bona fide rival of the Lord, the king of Chedi was extremely malicious towards Lord Krishna. In this, he was like many other asuras, such as Kamsa and Jarasandha. In the open assembly of the Rajasuya sacrifice performed by Maharaj Yudhishthira, Shishupal insulted Lord Krishna and he was finally killed by the Lord. But it was seen by everyone in the assembly that the light flashed out of the body of the king of Chedi and merged into the body of Lord Krishna. This means that Chediraj achieved the salvation of attaining oneness with the Supreme, which is a perfection most desired by jnanis and yogis, and for which they execute their different types of transcendental activities. It is a fact that persons who are trying to understand the Supreme Truth by their personal endeavors of mental speculation or mystic power of yoga achieve the same goal as others who are personally killed by the Lord. Right? So these demons, what they get, demons who are killed by Krishna, what destination they get, that is what these yogis and jnanis are trying so hard to achieve. Right? Both achieve the salvation of merging in the Brahma Jyoti rays of the transcendental body of the Lord. The Lord was merciful even to his enemy, and the success of the king of Chedi was observed by everyone who was present in the assembly. Vidura was also present there, and therefore Uddhava referred the incident to his memory. Text 20. Tathaiva chanye naraloka vira ya ahave Krishna mukara vindam netrai pibanto nayana abhiramam parthashtra putah padam apur asya. Okay. Certainly others who were fighters on the battlefield of Kurukshetra were purified by the onslaught of Arjuna's arrows. And while seeing the lotus-like face of Krishna, so pleasing to the eyes, they achieved the abode of the Lord. So this is the scene in the battlefield of Kurukshetra. So whoever were killed by Arjuna, by his arrows, so because he is a pure devotee of the Lord, his arrows were purifying them like anything. And when they were dying, they were seeing the beautiful lotus-like face of Krishna. It is very nicely put here. Ya ahave Krishna Mukaravindam. Aravindam means like the lotus flower, and Mukaravindam, it's the lotus-like face of Lord Krishna. So when they were seeing the Lord in the final moments of their death and then passing away from this world, where else they can go? They were all like transferred to the spiritual world. They were all transferred to the eternal abode of the Lord. Purport. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna, appears in this world for two missionary purposes: to deliver the faithful and to annihilate the miscreants. Vinashaya, Paritranaya sadhunam, Vinashaya cha dushkritam. But because the Lord is absolute, his two different kinds of actions, although apparently different, are ultimately one and the same. Right? So this is, both are one and the same. How? Like protecting the devotees. He's encouraging them to become more connected to him, and then like he's giving them pleasure in that way. And by destroying the non-devotees, he's purifying them and he's making them also connected to him. So it is mentioned that the fire, if you lovingly touch or if you touch with hatred, the fire will act in the same way. That is to burn. So in the same way, Whether you are a devotee of the Lord, you lovingly approach the Lord, or you are a enemy of the Lord and you with hatred you approach the Lord. So in whatever way, the connection with the Lord will only purify you. No, that is the meaning here that is brought about. So it is apparently different things the Lord is doing. He is killing or he is giving protection. So both are one and the same, because his nature is to purify the living entities and to award them pure devotional service. Okay, his annihilation of a person like Shishupal is as auspicious as his actions for protection of the faithful. All the warriors who fought against Arjuna, but who were able to see the lotus-like face of Lord on the battlefront, achieved the abode of the Lord exactly as the devotees of the Lord do. The words pleasing to the eyes of the seer are very significant. When the warriors from the other side of the battlefield saw Lord Krishna at the front, they appreciated his beauty, and their dormant instinct of love of God was awakened. Shishupal saw the Lord also, but he saw him as his enemy, and his love was not awakened. Therefore, Shishupal achieved oneness with the Lord by merging in the impersonal glare of his body called the Brahma Jyoti. So this makes it very, very clear. Until unless we develop love and affection towards the Supreme Lord, we cannot enter into the spiritual planets. Now, if we have to enter into the spiritual planets, we have to develop the loving service attitude towards the Supreme Lord. Others who were in the marginal position, being neither friends nor enemies, but slightly in love of God by appreciation of his face, were at once promoted to the spiritual planets, the Vaikunthas. So it is very important to understand this point. If you're neutral and if we just appreciate the Lord a little bit, then it is very good. No, we get the same destination as the devotees of the Lord. But then if we are envious of the Lord, so then we'll have to go to Brahma Jyoti only. We will not be able to get into the spiritual planets. And Brahma Jyoti, what's the problem? We'll again have to fall down to this material world, because there is no engagement there. The soul is completely active and the soul cannot be satisfied in the Brahma Jyoti. So that Lord Brahma explains, Aruhya kachena param padam tata patanti ada anadrita ishmadangre. Because they are anadrita, because they are not taken shelter at the lotus feet of the Lord, so they must fall down into the material world, sooner or later. So their position is not very safe, right? The Lord's personal abode is called Goloka Vrindavana, and the abodes where his plenary expansion reside are called Vaikunthas, where the Lord is present as Narayana. Love of Godhead is dormant in every living entity, and the entire process of devotional service unto Lord is meant for awakening this dormant eternal love of Godhead. But there are degrees of such transcendental awakening. Those whose love of God is awakened to the fullest extent go back to the Goloka Vrindavan planet in the spiritual sky, whereas persons who have just awakened the love of God by accident or association are transferred to the Vaikuntha planets. So this is the difference. No, the devotees of the Lord who are very much attached with the Lord in the love and devotion, so they go to the Goloka Vrindavan, and rest of them have to end up in the Vaikuntha planets. Essentially, there is no material difference between Goloka and Vaikuntha, but in the Vaikunthas, the Lord is served in unlimited opulence, whereas in Goloka, the Lord is served in natural affection. This love of God is awakened by the association of pure devotees of the Lord. Here, the word Parthashtra Putaha, Parthashtra Putaha. So Partha Astra, like by the weapons of Partha, is significant. Those who saw the beautiful face of the Lord on the battlefield of Kurukshetra were purified first by Arjuna when he made his onslaught with arrows. The Lord appeared for the mission of diminishing the burden of the world, and Arjuna was assisting the Lord by fighting on his behalf. Arjuna personally declined to fight, and the whole instruction of Bhagavad Gita was given to Arjuna to engage him in the fight. As a pure devotee of the Lord, Arjuna agreed to fight in preference to his own decision, and thus Arjuna fought to assist the Lord in his mission of diminishing the burden of the world. So this is very important. Until unless a person gets the touch of a devotee, it is not possible for him to understand the Supreme Lord. Even if he happens to meet the Supreme Lord directly, like Shishupal, they didn't serve the devotees, or they didn't come in contact with devotees. So they were like always, against the Lord. So they were not favored by the mercy of the devotees. So they were always against the Lord. So, but then, here in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, so there are people who are neutral to Krishna, and because Krishna is not one of them who are fighting, so they were neutral to Krishna, and at the same time, they are getting the touch of the devotee by Arjuna's arrows. So Arjuna is killing them, and that is purifying them. And then, like after purification, they are seeing the lotus-like face of Krishna, and they are getting back to the spiritual world, right? Such easy process to get back to the spiritual world. So, this goes to show that even the soldiers in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, they were not ordinary. No, they would have performed so much of sadhana, and that they ended up as the soldiers in the battle of Kurukshetra to be killed by Arjuna, right? So that is also a great qualification to be in that kind of position. Okay. The next aspect here in this particular section that we read is that Arjuna is demonstrating another very important principle here. He had a personal choice, but then the Lord had a choice. So Arjuna put down his personal choice and he accepted the choice of the Lord. So this is devotional service. This is what this is a very, very important lesson that Bhagavad Gita actually teaches us. I should not just be going on with my personal choices. So when I take this call, I'll put down my personal choice for the choice of the Lord. So that is when we will start conquering the heart of the Lord. Till then, like, no, I want this, Lord, fulfill this. I want this, no, Lord, fulfill this. The Lord will be very, very official. You want to have an official relationship, the Lord will have an official relationship. But when we show love and affection towards the Lord, right? So just when we see, generally when the mothers take care of the children, and that too infant children, so the children cannot be told, the small infant cannot be told that you cannot wake up at this time. No, you cannot do this. No, you cannot cry at this time. So the mother cannot tell all these things. Whenever the child gets up, whenever the child cries, the mother has to feed. So that's a selfless service, and that is the closest thing that we can actually, corroborate to the love that we have towards the God. So the love that a mother has towards the child, right? So that is the way in which a devotee should be towards Krishna. Krishna may do any pranks like the small child does. So, but the devotee is always trying to render service to him and always trying to change his priorities. The mother may be thinking that, okay, now I'll sleep now, and no, this is my schedule. But then the child cries. The mother has to attend to it. No, the mother cannot say like, no, this is not my choice. So, no, the child is crying now, and the mother has to feed. So that way, Krishna is just like that. What he will do, nobody can understand. And whatever he does, the devotees just simply follow him and simply render service to him according to his desire. So they are always ready to put down their desires and take on the desire of the Lord. So that is one nice, this one from Bhagavad Gita we can understand. Arjuna had such strong decision, strong personal decision, but then he just threw it away, and then he took Krishna's decision and he fought on the basis of Krishna's instruction. So that's a very important lesson that we can learn from the Arjuna's dealings with Krishna. Okay. All the activities of a pure devotee are executed on behalf of the Lord, because a pure devotee of Lord has nothing to do for his personal interest. Arjuna's killing was as good as killing by the Lord himself. As soon as Arjuna shot an arrow at an enemy, that enemy became purified of all material contaminations and became eligible to transfer to the spiritual sky. Those warriors who appreciated the lotus feet of the Lord and saw his face at the front of had their dormant love of God awakened, and thus they were transferred at once to Vaikuntha Loka, not to the impersonal state of Brahmajyoti, as was Shishupal. Shishupal died without appreciating the Lord, while others died with appreciation of the Lord. Both were transferred to the spiritual sky, but those who awakened the love of God were transferred to the planets of the transcendental sky. Uddhava seemingly lamented that his own position was less than that of the warriors on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, because they had attained the Vaikunthas, whereas he remained to lament the disappearance of the Lord. And so this is the mood of Uddhava here. And we can see that what we understand of the battlefield of Kurukshetra is okay, it was a big battle and so many people were massacred and things like that. But this is very, very auspicious battle. It is not just like any other, what is that, atrocious dictators. No, they would massacre a lot of people. No, but then it is not something like that. Here, every single person who were killed there, no, they are going back to the spiritual world. Their material life is getting finished, and all their miseries are coming to an end. So this is amazing, actually. So, and this is how the Lord's leelas, are very, very deep. Every single aspect of the leela of the Lord, if we dig into, there will be so much of details and so much of intricate things to learn, and intricate things that the Lord actually accomplishes, by doing just one action. So, this is one insight into the whole thing about the people who are dying in the battlefield of Kurukshetra. So they are getting such amazing opportunity, and that the dear devotee of the Lord, Uddhava, is thinking that, oh, these people are much greater. No, they have gone back to the spiritual world, but I am here left, bereft of the association of the Lord. No, he is not thinking that I am in the material world, so I am, in bad position. He is thinking that I am deprived of the association of the Lord. No, till then he was having the physical association of the Lord. No, he's feeling that deprival of the association of the Lord. So that is what is paining him. No, but then they always take the association of the Lord, by the way of discussing the Krishna Katha. So that is the thing which actually solaces a devotee. That is the thing that which gives a devotee the direct perception of Krishna, and then it solaces him of the separation that he is feeling from the Lord. Text 21. Swayamtva asam yatishyas trayadishah swarajya lakshmi apta samasta kamaha balim haradhis chiralokapalai kirita kotye dita padapitah. Okay. Lord Sri Krishna is the Lord of all kinds of trees. Okay, and is independently supreme by achievement of all kinds of fortune. He is worshipped by the eternal maintainers of the creation, who offer him the paraphernalia of worship by touching their millions of helmets to his feet. Okay, all kinds of trees. Now, I think Prabhupada will explain in the purport. Okay, Lord Sri Krishna is so mild and merciful as described in the above verses, and yet he is the Lord of all kinds of trees. He is the supreme Lord of all the three worlds. Okay, so these kind of trees, three worlds like the Swargaloka, Martyaloka, and the Patala Loka, or the upper planetary system and middle planetary system and the lower planetary system. And then the three qualities of material nature, Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. He is the Lord of Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. And he is the master of the Purusha avatars, Karanodakashayi, Garbhodakashayi, and Shirodakashayi Vishnus. Right? There are innumerable universes, and in each and every universe, there are different manifestations of Brahma, Vishnu, and Rudra. Besides that, there is the Sheshamurti, who bears all universes on his hoods. And Lord Krishna is the Lord of all of them. As the incarnation of Manu, he is the original source of all Manus in innumerable universes. Each universe has a manifestation of 504,000 Manus. How this 504,000 Manus comes into picture? So in one day of Brahma, there are 14 Manus are there, and Brahma lives for 100 years. So by calculation, 14 into 30 into 12 makes the number of Manus in 1 month of Brahma, and then we can actually calculate much more. So to the 100 years of Brahma. So in this way, like, we can actually arrive at this number. And he is the Lord of the three principal potencies, namely Chik Shakti, Maya Shakti, and Tatashta Shakti. So that is spiritual energy, material energy, and the marginal energy, that is a living entity. And he is complete master of the 6 kinds of fortune, That is Aishwaryasya Samagrasya Viryasya Yashashriya Jnana Vairagayoschaiva Shannam Bhagaitangana. Wealth, strength, fame, beauty, knowledge, and renunciation. There is none who can excel him in any matter of enjoyment, and certainly there is no one greater than him. No one is equal to or greater than him. So the name of the Lord in this connection is Asama Urdhva. No, means negation, Sama means equal, and Urdhva means like superior. No, so Urdhva means like something which is in the top or towards the top. So it is superior. So Sama Urdhva, that means nobody is equal to or greater than him. So that is why the Lord has a name, Asamordhva. No, Asamordhva means like that is one of the name of the Lord. No, that person for whom there is no equal or greater, no personality available in the entire creation. It is a duty of everyone, whoever and wherever one may be, to surrender completely unto him. It is not wonderful, therefore, that all the transcendental controllers surrender to him and make all offerings of worship. Okay. Text 22. Tattasya kainkaryam alambritanno viklapayatyanga yad ugrasenam tishtan nishannam parameshti tishnye nyabodayateva nidarayeti. Therefore, O Vidura, does it not pain us, his servitors, when we remember that he, Lord Krishna, used to stand before King Ugrasen, who was sitting on the royal throne, and used to submit explanations before him, saying, "Oh my Lord, please let it be known to you." So, when Krishna killed Kamsa, no, he did not become the king himself. He put no King Ugrasen on the throne, no, and like he used to be a subordinate, no, to Ugrasen. So that is like, and he would come and report to the king, no, saying like, no, this is, may I inform you these things like that. So, purport: Lord Krishna's gentle behavior before his so-called superiors, such as his father, grandfather, and elder brother, his amiable behavior with his so-called wives, friends, and contemporaries, his behavior as a child before his mother Yashoda, and his naughty dealings with his young girlfriends cannot bewilder a pure devotee like Uddhava. Others who are not devotees are bewildered by such behavior of the Lord, who acted just like a human being. This bewilderment is explained by the Lord himself in Bhagavad Gita 9:11 as follows: Avajananti mam muda manushim tanumashritam parambhavam ajananto mama bhuta maheshwaram. Persons with a poor fund of knowledge belittle the personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna, not knowing his exalted position as the Lord of everything. In Bhagavad Gita, the Lord has explained his position clearly, but the demoniac atheistic students squeeze out an interpretation to suit his own purpose and mislead unfortunate followers into the same mentality. Such unfortunate persons merely pick up some slogans from the great book of knowledge, but are unable to estimate the Lord as the supreme personality of Godhead. Pure devotees like Uddhava, however, are never misled by such atheistic opportunities. Okay, so next sloka is a very, very amazing sloka. So we will start this note tomorrow. Aho bakiyam stanakala kutam jigam sayaya ya pad api asadvi leve gatim dhatri uchitam tatonyam kamva dayalam sharanam vajema. So this is a very intense sloka. No, this is just we will have a little discussion and then we will discuss it fully tomorrow. Aho Baki. Baki means the sister of Bakasura. No, is called as Baki. So Bakasura's sister is Putana. So here we see that this Baki, no, she had come with Kalakuta. Kalakuta means the most deadly poison, and she had applied that deadly poison on her breast, and then she had come to kill Krishna. No, she was Asadvi. No, she was not a very saintly person. She is a demon. No, and but still, because when Krishna killed this demon, he thought that this demon, she had come to feed milk to me. No, so that's why what he did, Lebe Gatim, he gave that gati. Gati means the position. So what kind of gati, he gave? Datri. Datri means a nurse, or a position in equality to the mother. No, lebe gatim datri uchitam tatonyam. No, he felt that that is the proper position to be offered to her, because she wanted to feed her breast milk to me. So I should give her the position of mother. So, and it is mentioned. Um, Kamva Dayalum. Kamva Dayalum means who's a person who's more merciful than this one, right? So Krishna is such a person. No, he is giving the position of mother in the spiritual world, transferring that demon to the spiritual world, and then giving her the position of great devotee. In the Goloka Vrindavan planet. So, like a person who came to kill. How many of us will do this thing? If somebody comes to kill us, and somehow or other, we escape and we catch hold of him. Will we offer some? No, okay, like I'm very very pleased with you, like you take some good remuneration from me, will we do that? We will never do that. But Krishna is such a merciful person. So this demon who came to kill Krishna, Krishna gave such an exalted position as Datri, right? So that is the mercy of the Lord. And then Kamva Dayalam Sharanam Vrajema. So like who else you will find as a good master to surrender yourself, right? So everyone should surrender to this great personality, like who is such an exalted person, and who is such a merciful person. This is the limit of mercy that anybody can think of, right? So anyway, we will discuss the shloka tomorrow. So we will stop here, not till here. Okay. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.